Have you ever felt this? Someone reads your message and never replies. They walk past you and don't even look. They speak to everyone else except you. And in that silence, something breaks. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts spiral. Your confidence quietly collapses. No one insulted you. No one attacked you. Yet the pain feels sharp, personal, unavoidable. Why does being ignored hurt more than being criticized? Because when someone ignores you, your mind doesn't hear silence. It hears a story. I don't matter. I'm invisible. I've been erased. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor who ruled the world yet felt deeply alone wrote about this exact pain. Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never do. The suffering is not caused by being ignored. It is caused by giving other people the power to define your worth. And once you see that, everything changes. Part 1. Why ignorance hurts. The real reason, let's slow this moment down. Someone ignores you. There is no sound, no explanation, no closure. And yet your body reacts as if something dangerous just happened. Your chest tightens, your breathing changes, and your thoughts begin to spiral. Nothing physical has occurred, yet the pain feels real sharp and personal. Here is the uncomfortable truth Stoicism teaches us. We are not hurt by events themselves, but by our judgments about them. When someone ignores you, nothing tangible happens. There is no blow, no threat, no visible harm. But in the silence, your mind rushes to fill the gap. It whispers meanings you never consciously chose. I am not important. I am invisible. I am rejected. Pause here for a moment and breathe. Inhale slowly, then exhale. Now listen carefully. The pain is not the silence. The pain is the story you attach to that silence. Nearly 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." This single sentence explains why being ignored hurts so deeply. Being ignored does not attack your body. It attacks your identity. Deep inside, every human carries an ancient need, the need to belong, to be seen, to be acknowledged. Anthropologists estimate that for more than 95% of human history, being ignored by the group meant exile, and exile often meant death. No food, no protection, no survival. Your nervous system still remembers that threat even though the modern world has changed. So when someone ignores you today, your brain reacts as if your survival is at risk. Neuroscience confirms this. Studies show that social rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Your mind treats silence like an injury. That is why your chest tightens, your stomach sinks, and your thoughts race. Reset with me. Say this quietly in your mind. This pain is ancient, but I am not in danger. The Stoics understood that suffering begins the moment we mistake judgment for reality. Silence itself is neutral. It has no meaning until you give it one. And the meaning most people choose unconsciously is self-blame. This is where validation enters the picture. Being ignored hurts because it threatens the belief that our worth depends on being acknowledged by others. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily not to fall into this trap. He reminded himself that external approval is unstable and outside our control. The moment you tie your sense of value to someone else's attention, you place your peace in their hands. And that is where suffering begins. Here is a simple Stoic exercise you can practice today. Tonight, write down one moment when you felt ignored. Then ask yourself one question: what judgment did I attach to that moment? Not what happened, but what you believed it meant about you. Awareness is the first crack in the illusion. Once you see the judgment clearly, it begins to lose its power. Take another slow breath. And now here is the question that leads us forward. If the pain comes from our judgments, not from the silence itself, how did Marcus Aurelius train his mind to remain steady when ignored, betrayed, and disrespected while ruling an empire? The answer lies in his inner battle, and that is where we go next. Part 2. Marcus Aurelius' Inner Battle. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, but power did not protect him from being ignored. Pause here for a moment and let that sink in. Even as Emperor of Rome, Marcus was dismissed, betrayed, spoken over, and quietly undermined by those closest to him. Generals questioned his authority, senators smiled in public and resisted him in private, and friends he trusted chose ambition over loyalty. And at night, when the noise of the empire faded, Marcus sat alone. No applause, no reassurance, no audience, only a journal. What he wrote there was never meant for the world. Meditations was not a book. It was a survival tool. Take a slow breath in and out. Here is what separates Marcus Aurelius from most people who suffer from being ignored. He did not ask, "Why don't they respect me?" He asked, "Why do I need their respect to feel whole?" That single question changed everything. Marcus lived in a brutal reality. During his reign, Rome fought nearly constant wars. A devastating plague killed millions. He lost 8 of his 13 children, and he ruled knowing that many around him hoped for his failure. Yet his deepest struggle was not political, it was psychological. Say this with me slowly, the greatest battle is inside. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line alone explains how he endured indifference. Because Marcus understood a truth most people never see: being ignored only hurts when you believe other people are the judges of your value. Now think about modern life. We measure ourselves by messages answered, likes, received, invitations extended, and attention given. Research shows the average person checks their phone more than 90 times a day, often seeking one thing: confirmation that they matter. Marcus had no phone, no audience, no validation loop. So he trained something far more dangerous to insecurity: self-command. Pause again and say this quietly: my worth is not up for vote. Marcus practiced negative visualization, imagining rejection, disrespect, and neglect before they happen. Not to become bitter, but to become prepared. He reminded himself daily, "I will meet people who are ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This was not pessimism. It was Stoic armor. When you expect to be ignored, it loses its shock. And here's the paradox: the less Marcus needed approval, the more authority he carried. People sensed it. Modern psychology confirms this: individuals who do not chase validation are perceived as more confident and trustworthy. Marcus lived this centuries before the data. Take another breath. Marcus also knew something uncomfortable, but liberating: craving attention is a form of slavery. He wrote how much time he saves who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. Think about that. Every time you check whether someone noticed you, every time you replay silence in your head, you give away a piece of your freedom. Marcus refused to do that. Instead, he anchored himself to duty, not feelings, not recognition. Duty. Each day he asked himself one question: what does my role require of me, regardless of how I am treated? That question is lethal to insecurity. Now listen carefully, because this is practical. The next time someone ignores you, do nothing. No reaction, no follow-up message, no explanation. Simply pause and ask yourself, what would a calm, disciplined version of me do next? Then do that. Not to prove a point, but to reclaim control. Because control, not attention, is power. Say it with me: I choose response over reaction. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. If your peace depends on how others treat you, you will never be free. If your worth depends on being noticed, you will always be anxious. That is why he trained himself to stand firm in silence. And here is the bridge to what comes next. Marcus did not merely endure being ignored, he transformed it. He learned how to turn neglect into independence, silence into clarity, and rejection into strength. In the next part, you will learn the Stoic shift that turns pain into power. Do not miss it. Part 3, the Stoic shift from pain to power. There is a moment when pain can either harden you or free you. Most people never reach that moment because they stay trapped in one question: why did they ignore me? The Stoics asked a different question: why do I feel wounded by this pause here? Take a slow breath in and out. This is where the Stoic shift begins. When someone ignores you, the instinctive reaction is to personalize it. You assume the silence is about you. Your mind rushes to conclusions, filling the gap with stories of inadequacy and rejection. But Stoicism invites you to step back and see the situation from above, as if you were observing your own thoughts from a distance. Here is the shift, and it is subtle but powerful. When someone ignores you, they reveal their character, their priorities, their limitations, not your value. Say that with me slowly. Their character, not my value. Again, their character, not my value. Silence is not a verdict. Neglect is not a measurement. Rejection is not reality. These are events, neutral events, meaningless until judged. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind to pause at this exact point. Before reacting, before assuming, before suffering, he asked a single question: is this within my control? This question was his anchor. If the answer was yes, he acted with discipline. If the answer was no, he released it without resentment. Imagine the freedom of living this way. Most people suffer not because they are ignored, but because they keep fighting what they cannot control. They replay conversations, analyze silence, and search endlessly for explanations that will never arrive. This mental struggle creates far more pain than the original event. Reset with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Modern psychology supports this Stoic insight. Studies on emotional resilience show that people who detach their self-worth from external validation experience lower anxiety, greater emotional stability, and faster recovery from social rejection. In other words, the less you depend on being noticed, the more psychologically resilient you become. The Stoics discovered this long before the science. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been." This is not denial. This is power. It does not mean pretending rejection does not exist. It means refusing to let rejection define you. Here is a critical distinction the Stoics understood. There is a difference between being ignored and being diminished. One is an external action. The other is an internal decision. No one can diminish you without your cooperation. Pause again. Let that settle. The Stoic shift happens the moment you stop asking for permission to feel whole. When you no longer beg for attention, you stop giving others leverage over your emotions. And that is when something surprising happens. You become calm, not passive, not cold. Calm is dangerous because it cannot be manipulated. Think about the people you respect most. They are not frantic for validation. They do not chase approval. They move with quiet certainty. That certainty comes from internal alignment, not external applause. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As emperor, he encountered constant criticism and indifference. He could not please everyone, and he knew it. So he anchored his identity to something unshakable: his values. He reminded himself daily to act with justice, discipline, and reason, regardless of how others responded. This is the heart of Stoic power. Reset moment. Say this internally: I do not need to be seen to be solid. Now let's make this real. The next time you are ignored, do not rush to interpret it. Instead, label the moment. Say, this is an external event. That single sentence creates distance between you and the emotion. Then ask the Stoic question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, your task is not to fix it, but to release it. Release does not mean forgetting. It means refusing to wrestle with what you cannot change. This is where most people fail. They cling to the hope that understanding the silence will bring relief. It rarely does. Relief comes from acceptance and redirection. Redirect your energy inward, toward your actions, your discipline, your character. Another reset: breathe. Here is the paradox of Stoicism. The moment you stop chasing attention, attention often comes naturally, but by then you no longer need it. This is why Stoic calm is so powerful. It removes desperation from your presence. And desperation, whether we admit it or not, is what pushes people away. Marcus Aurelius never begged to be understood. He focused on being worthy of his own respect. That is a standard no one else can take from you. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you stop allowing silence to poison your thoughts, silence loses its power. Let's anchor this with a simple practice. For the next week, whenever you feel ignored, pause and silently repeat this phrase: this does not define me. Then take one deliberate action aligned with your values. Work, train, learn, improve, act. This is how pain becomes power, because every moment of neglect becomes a moment of self-command. Take one more breath. And now here's the bridge to what comes next. Understanding the Stoic shift is not enough. Insight without practice fades quickly. The Stoics knew this, which is why they developed practical tools to train the mind just as the body is trained. In the next part, you will learn the exact Stoic practices Marcus Aurelius used to make this mindset automatic, not theoretical, but lived. Stay with me. Part 4. Practical Stoic tools apply today. Insight alone is not enough. You can understand Stoicism, perfectly agree with every idea, and still suffer because the mind is not changed by insight, but by training. Marcus Aurelius knew this. That is why he did not merely reflect, he practiced. He treated philosophy as daily discipline, not intellectual comfort. So now we move from understanding to application. Pause here. Take a breath in and out. The Stoics believed that emotional pain weakens only when it is faced repeatedly and consciously. That is why they developed tools simple, direct, and uncomfortable, designed to retrain the mind. These tools are not motivational tricks. They are mental conditioning. Let's begin with the first and most important one. Tool 1. Name the judgment. Most suffering feels overwhelming because it is vague. It sits in the background, undefined, unchallenged. The Stoics attack this vagueness directly. They forced pain into words. The next time you feel hurt by being ignored, say this clearly, either out loud or in your mind: I am suffering because I believe being ignored means I am worthless. Say it again slowly. I am suffering because I believe being ignored means I am worthless. This sentence does something powerful. It separates the event from the interpretation. You are no longer drowning in emotion, you are observing it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He wrote to himself not to dramatize impressions, but to strip them down to facts. Once a judgment is named, it weakens. It becomes something you can examine instead of something that controls you. Reset with me. Breathe. Tool 2. Voluntary discomfort. This is where Stoicism becomes uncomfortable and effective. Marcus Aurelius believed that we should occasionally choose discomfort, so that discomfort loses its power over us. Being ignored hurts because we fear it. So the Stoic solution is simple, but not easy practice: being unseen. Do good without recognition. Work without announcing it. Improve without posting about it. Marcus wrote, do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Notice what he does not say. He does not say, be admired. He says, be good. When you train yourself to act without applause, you slowly detach your identity from external approval. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will crave acknowledgement. That craving is the addiction being exposed. Pause again. Inhale, exhale. Here is a practical exercise. For the next 3 days, do one meaningful action each day that no one knows about. No credit, no hint, no explanation. Then observe your emotional response. The discomfort will peak and then fade. What remains is quiet strength. Tool 3. Redirect energy. Attention seeking is energy misdirection. When you are ignored, your mind wants to chase validation. It wants to explain, justify, prove. Stoicism cuts this cycle by redirecting energy inward. Instead of chasing attention, build something. Build skill. Build discipline. Build inner silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. This is Stoic redirection in its purest form. When ignored, do not ask, why didn't they notice me? Ask, what can I improve right now? Work becomes medicine. Discipline becomes grounding. Silence becomes clarity. Reset moment. Say this internally: I redirect my energy. Tool 4. The control filter. Every Stoic practice rests on this question. Is this within my control? You cannot control who replies. You cannot control who notices. You cannot control how others behave. But you can control your response, your effort, your standards. Marcus Aurelius filtered every disturbance through this lens. If something was outside his control, he refused to give it emotional weight. This does not make you passive, it makes you precise. Here is how to apply it in real time. When ignored, pause and mentally place the event into one of two categories: controllable or uncontrollable. If it is uncontrollable, release it immediately. Do not negotiate with it. Release is a decision, not a feeling. Another breath. Tool 5. Daily rehearsal. Stoic strength is built before the moment of pain, not during it. Marcus rehearsed adversity in advance. Each morning he reminded himself that he would encounter indifference, disrespect, and selfishness. This did not make him bitter. It made him steady. You can do the same. At the start of your day, quietly say, "Today, I may be ignored, and I will remain calm." This single sentence prepares the mind. When the moment arrives, it feels familiar rather than shocking. And now here is the deeper truth behind all these tools. They are not designed to make you emotionless. They are designed to make you sovereign. Sovereignty means you do not hand your emotional authority to others. You decide what has power over you. Marcus Aurelius did not seek to be admired. He sought to be unshaken. Pause one last time. Everything you have learned so far leads to this final understanding. If you can stand firm without approval, you are free. And that freedom leads us to the final Stoic truth, the truth that ends the need for validation altogether. That is where we go next. Stay with me. Part 5, the final Stoic truth. There comes a point where everything becomes quiet. Not the silence of being ignored, but the silence of no longer needing to be heard. This is the final Stoic truth. You were not born to be applauded. You were not born to be validated. You were not born to be constantly noticed. You were born to live in alignment with your values. Pause here. Take a slow breath in and out. Most people spend their entire lives trying to escape one fear, the fear of being insignificant. They chase attention, approval, recognition, not because they are weak, but because they were never taught another way to measure their worth. Society rewards visibility, noise, and constant performance. Silence is treated as failure. Being ignored is treated as erasure. But the Stoics saw through this illusion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Read that again slowly. We trust strangers more than ourselves. We let silence override character. We let absence define value. That is the root of the pain. The final Stoic truth is this: your worth is intrinsic, not negotiated. It does not increase when you are praised. It does not decrease when you are ignored. It does not fluctuate with attention. It is thabbed, unchanging. Reset with me. Say this internally. My value is not conditional. Marcus Aurelius understood that approval is unstable by nature. It depends on moods, incentives, politics, and insecurities, all things outside your control. That is why he refused to build his identity on it. Instead, he anchored himself to character. Character is what remains when no one is watching. Think about that. When the messages stop, when the room goes quiet, when no one notices, who are you then? That answer matters more than any reaction you will ever receive. Another breath. Here is the paradox most people miss. When you stop needing validation, you do not become invisible, you become grounded. Grounded people move differently. They speak less but with weight. They react less but with intention. They are not pulled apart by silence because silence no longer threatens them. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth daily. He ruled an empire not by demanding admiration, but by practicing restraint. He reminded himself, never value the admiration of someone who cannot admire himself. In other words, do not seek validation from those who are lost themselves. That single idea can free you from years of unnecessary suffering. Reset moment. Breathe. The Stoics believe that inner freedom is the highest form of power. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom from emotional dependence. When you are no longer controlled by how others treat you, you become steady. And steadiness is rare. This is why being ignored can become a gift. It strips away illusions. It reveals attachments. It shows you where your peace was outsourced. Most people run from that realization. The Stoic walks toward it. Here is a final practice, simple but profound. Each night, ask yourself one question. Did I act today in a way I respect, regardless of how I was treated? Not was I liked, not was I noticed, but was I aligned? That question reclaims your authority. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice how nothing in that sentence depends on anyone else. This is the final Stoic position. You do not need to be seen to be powerful. You do not need to be acknowledged to be solid. You do not need to be validated to be whole. Silence does not diminish you. Neglect does not define you. Rejection does not erase you. Only one thing matters in the end, whether you remain faithful to your values. Take one last breath and remember this. When approval disappears, character remains. When attention fades, discipline endures. When the noise dies down, you meet yourself. And if you have trained your mind well, you will like who you find there. That is real freedom. If this message gave you clarity, strength, or calm, like this video, share it with someone who feels invisible. Subscribe to the channel Making Life Better for more Stoic wisdom that sharpens the mind and strengthens the soul. And now I want you to do one simple thing. Comment just one word below unshaken. Because being ignored only has power when it shakes you. Remember, you don't need to be seen to be powerful. You only need to be unshaken.